Recording in progress.
Afternoon.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's unmute, we can unmute us now.
Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Guam Land Use Commission for today, Thursday, July 28, 2022. The time is now 1:30 and present today are myself, Acting Chairperson Arthur Chan, and with us are Commissioners Lailani Flores. Could you please raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nito Blas. Thank you. And Commissioner Brian Otero. Thank you. Executive Secretary Joseph Bora to my left. And Legal Counsel Nick Toft. Legal Counsel Nick Toft.
I will contact him. I just came from his office.
Guam Chief Planner Celine Cruz to my right. We'll wait until we get a hold of the legal counsel and the planning staff, right?
Nick, can you sign on and watch us also? Okay. Signing on. Okay.
Same. Just waiting for our legal counsel, Nick Toft. Yeah, you see it. Okay. Okay, and yeah, we were just holding the roll call. Legal counsel Nick Toft. Oh, thank you. Okay, we have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. In order to, before the commission today is the approval of the minutes from the last GLUC meeting of Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Commissioners, you have had the opportunity to review the minutes. I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. A motion was provided by Commissioner Lailani Flores. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay, and seconded by Commissioner Nito Blas. Okay, was there any discussions and errors or omissions on the minutes of the meeting? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes of June 23rd, 2022, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 And there any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion carries. The minutes of June 23, 2022 is approved. The next item on the agenda, those agendas were sent over to your office, is the old or unfinished businesses. And I see that there are no old or unfinished business for today. So let's proceed to the next agenda item, which is new business. And also I see that there's no new business on the agenda. So the next item on the agenda is administrative and miscellaneous matters. I'd like to read the application in front of me. Application number 212015-05B. The applicant, Guahan Baptist Church, submits its 5-year status report for a previously approved conditional use permit to allow for the continued operation of the Guahan Baptist Church for its church services, Sunday school, and related activities on Lot 2-4 new, that's R6, Block 7 and Tract 207 in the Municipality of Talo'fo'fo in an R1 single-family dwelling zone. Case planner is Frank Titano. I will now turn the floor over to the Chief Planner, Celine, or the case planner, to read the staff report.
Chairman Chan, I'll read this staff report
Okay,
for tonight.
Thank you.
This is a staff report dated June 28, 2022. The subject is a commission brief for a 5-year status report of application number 2015-05B. The applicant, Guahan Baptist Church, submits its 5-year status report of its conditional use approval for the construction and operation of a church on Lot 2-4 new R6, Block 7, Tract 207, EPAN, Municipality of Talo'fo'fo. As conditionally approved by the Commission on September 10, 2015, the subject church complex, as shown on the attached approved site plan within Lot 2-4 new R6, Block 7, Tract 207, consists of a 20 feet by 60 feet temporary church building, a proposed parking area, an existing restroom structure, some landscaping, and a proposed 80.30 feet by 60 feet future permanent church building. The applicant, in its status report, submits that the leasee, Guahan Baptist Church, and the lessor, Richard S. and Maria P. Quimbao, have agreed to subdivide Lot 2-4 new R6, Block 7, Tract 207, currently under lease with conditions. Whereas the division of Lot 2-4 new R6 will now locate the existing church on Lot 2-4 new R10, as shown on the attached proposed parceling map. Upon approval of the survey map, the landowners and the church will execute a new lease agreement for Lot 2-4 new R10. In addition, the applicant is requesting that the Commission expunge condition number 4 of its notice of action, limiting access to and from the church to Polino Heights Road only, and to request that the Commission allow Guahan Baptist Church access to and from the church from Route 4. In support of this request, the applicant included pictures of the existing condition of the existing church site and Route 4, a list of public supporters, and a letter of support from the Talo'fo'fo mayor. In the interim, as agreed by the landowners, the existing access to and from the existing church will remain, contingent on immediate access being granted from Route 4, and that the existing power and water infrastructure will remain until such time that the leasee or the church can reroute said utilities from Route 4. As a result of the above, the applicant included a proposed site plan in its report which shows the existing church building and 2 accessory structures in the rear of the church, existing landscaping, a proposed parking area, 3 40-feet containers, 2 containers to be used as Sunday school classrooms, and the third to be used as a storage container. And our recommendation. Based on the issuance of building permit to construct the existing church, it is our position that the applicant has fulfilled the requirement of Executive Order 9626, Section 5, and qualifies conditions number 2, 3, and 6 of the Commission's September 10, 2015 approval. Not applicable, and that condition number 7 by the submission of the 5-year report has been fulfilled and is not applicable. In addition, should the Commission approve the applicant's request to allow the church ingress and egress from Route 4, condition number 4 will no longer be applicable. Therefore, considering the applicant's continuing coordination with the permitting agencies, we find that the applicant is complying to the conditions imposed, have been, and continues to work with the appropriate government entities in adhering to said agencies' requirements and ensuring that best management practices are in place. We recommend a favorable Commission review of the request with the following condition. Number one, that the applicant continues compliance to conditions number 1, 5, and 8 as specified on the notice of action dated September 11, 2015, under document number 883680. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Staff for that. Are there any questions for the staff from the commissioners? Do I have any questions or comments?
No questions.
No questions, no comments. Okay, I will now open for public comment. Are there any public comments for this application? If so, please note in the chat feature of the Zoom and for which item you would like to give comments to. Are there any comments in the chat feature? No. Okay, seeing none, I will now close public comment at this time. Commissioners, if there are no further comments or discussions, I'm ready to entertain a motion. Oh. I see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Before we open that up to the commissioners, I'd like to open it now to the applicant or the representative of the applicant to make any comments.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm Gordon Guerrero, one of 3 deacons at Guahan Baptist Church. Together with me here in this room, I have Tasi Eckert, Pastor Eckert's wife, and I have Vince and Mary Paris also representing the Kimball family. And we are very excited about moving forward since our beloved pastor went home with the Lord 2020. We have come across new dynamics with regard to the church, and together with the Kimball family, our lessees, we have arrived at this request where we move to subdivide the property and retain the property that we're currently sitting on while the family moves to develop their properties. And I think the biggest thing that we are hoping to do is to have, as mentioned earlier, access via Route 4 directly onto the property that the church is sitting on, so that there would be no further imposition with the family's properties, and that we can continue specifically on the new lot, as mentioned earlier, and we can continue as we had envisioned back since 2015 when Pastor Don was still with us.
Okay, so we just listened to the representative of the applicant. Do I hear any comments from anybody? Okay, I'll turn that over to the commissioners. Do you have any questions, commissioners of the GLUC? Do you have any questions as far as the comments of the representative?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any of the commissioners raising their hand for any comments. If there are no further comments and discussions, I'm ready to entertain a motion from the commissioners.
I'd like to make a motion to approve application number 2015-05B for Guahan Baptist Church to approve the conditional use permit to allow for continued operation of the Guahan Baptist Church services, Sunday school, and related activities on lot number 2-4 new R6 Block T, Tract 207 in the Municipality of Talo'fo'fo in an R1 zone, based on the recommendations made on the June 28, 2022 staff report.
I hear a motion coming from Commissioner Leland. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the application, the applicant, Guahan Baptist Church, for the 5-year status report, or I should say, approval. The approval of the continued operation of the construction and operation of a church lot number 2-4 new, that's R6 Block 7, Tract 207, at Ipan, Municipality of Talo'fo'fo. Any discussions on the motion? And if none, would like to get a vote now. If none, there's no favor. All those in favor, say aye and raise your right hand, please.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. The application is approved. Thank you, Commissioners. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Next item on the agenda is a tentative subdivision extension of time, application number 2020-06C. The applicant, Tasi Vista Development, LLC, is requesting for its second extension of time pursuant to E-96-26 for a previously approved tentative subdivision for the proposed development of 62 single-family lots with full improvements on Tract 1333, formerly lot number 2056, new, in the Municipality of Mongmong, Toto, Maite, in an R2 multiple family dwelling zone. Case planner is Mr. Frank Dededo. I will now turn the floor over to Chief Planner or the case planner to read the staff report.
Again, I'll be reading the staff report on that.
Thank you, Chief Planner.
This is for staff report dated June 30, 2022. The subject is a commission brief for a tentative subdivision on Tract 1333, formerly lot 2056 new, in the Municipality of Mongmong, Toto, Maite, under application number 2020-06C. The applicant, Tasi Vista Development, LLC, pursuant to Section 5 of Executive Order 9626, is requesting for a second extension of time of an approved tentative subdivision on Tract 1333 in the Municipality of Mongmong, Toto, Maite. As conditionally approved by the Commission on March 12, 2020, the subject application is a tentative subdivision to create a 62 single-family residential subdivision with full improvements. Residential lots range in size from 680 square meters to 1,704 square meters, to be served by 5 40-feet wide public access and utilities rights-of-way, 2 common area lots, and in addition, 2 lots are also created by the proposed subdivision. Lot 19, Block 1 at 5,294 square meters in size, and Lot 1, Block 6 at 9,212 square meters in size. As noted on the applicant's request package, with reasonings provided, the request is for an extension of time pursuant to Section 5 of Executive Order 9626, which states, the applicant must apply for and receive a building or grading permit for the approved project within 1 year of the date of recordation of the notice of action, Otherwise, the approval of the project as granted by the commission shall expire, provided, however, that the commission may grant 2 one-year extensions of the above approval period. As outlined in the request package, the applicant since 2018 has been working with GPA, GWA, and GEPA to address the requirements and get their approval for the construction of the infrastructure. As shown on the copy of the permit application, the applicant is presently waiting for GEPA's signature on the permit application to move forward for the construction permit. Our recommendation, considering that the applicant has been and continues to consult and coordinate with the Guahan permitting entities involved to address their permitting conditions and requirements for the approved tentative subdivision, planning staff recommends approval with the following condition: that the applicant continues compliance to the conditions as specified on the notice of action dated March 16, 2020, filed under document number 948104. And that completes the staff report.
You've heard the staff report from Chief Planner, Celine Cruz. I will now turn the floor over to any questions from the staff? I mean, for the staff? Commissioners?
No question.
No question?
No question.
If not, then I invite the applicant's representative to provide a presentation to the commission.
Sorry, let me try that again. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Calvo on behalf of the developer, Tasi Vista. Basically, just to kind of supplement what was in the report just given, as well as the request for the extension that was submitted to the commission on June 24th. We did, just to kind of highlight a few of the major, I guess, the progress that we've made. We did finalize an offsite water and sewer infrastructure upgrade with Guahan Waterworks, and that will be done pursuant to a separate permit. However, that will be done, and we've committed to do that in connection with the MOA in order to get the infrastructure completed for this project. As far as our status with GEPA, we did submit some updated drawings to them on June 10th. These were basically changes to the infrastructure within the subdivision, mainly requiring that we create a ponding basin on one of the estate lots, just to make sure that there's sufficient stormwater runoff, in addition to the catchment basins, just to make sure that the ponding basin is there to avoid any issues with that. So we did we revised our plans, submitted the plans on June 10th. As required by GEPA, we just continue to follow up regularly, and we're still awaiting their response on the review of those final drawings, after which we expect to receive the signature on the permit, and then we can actually move forward. So that's kind of the final step. We're hoping to have that done by today, but like I said, there were some internal issues with uploading the drawings or something that we continue to just follow up with GEPA on a weekly basis just to see the status, and we'll continue to do that. So we hope to receive that soon.
Well, do we have any public comments? I'd like to turn this over to the public for any comments. Any comment from the public? If none, I will now close the public comment section. Commissioners, do you have any further comments or discussions? If none, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve application 2020-06C for Tasi Vista Development LLC on their second extension of time for the proposed development of 62 single-family lots with full improvements on Tract 1333 in the Municipality of Mongmong, Toto, Maite, in an R2 zone noting the conditions as specified on the notice of action dated March 16, 2020.
That's a motion coming from Commissioner Artero. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
And it's seconded by Commissioner Dededo, I'm sorry. You've heard this, the motion, and the second was made. Any discussions on the motion? If none, all in favor, say aye and raise your right hand, please.
Aye.
Any hand, sorry. Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. The application is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion, moving over to the next item of the agenda. Discussions. It's a formal complaint on the Dededo firing range. I will now turn the floor over to Executive Secretary on my left to read the staff report.
Thank you, Acting Chair Chan. The staff report is actually a response to the complaint that Konya Charters filed on April 4, 2022. This review and report was compiled by the Executive Secretary and Legal Counsel. And today's agenda includes an item under administrative and miscellaneous matters, which is the formal complaint Dededo firing range. We have reviewed the complaint and appeal processes, the statutory timelines of the zoning law, Chapter 61 GCA, and the building law, Chapter 66 GCA. The appeals and complaints process today may not be usable retroactively because of the statutory timelines. This is a review of Territorial Planning Commission, TPC, actions and approvals on applications made in 1982, 1983, and 1984. None of the present planning employees were with the Department of Land Management at that time, and DLM records from 1983 may not be complete. The first initial application came in 1982 as an application for a zone variance. The zone variance firing range was granted in 1982 by the TPC with 4 conditions. I'd like to cite that complaints of violations of zoning laws shall be made to the Director of Public Works as prescribed in Section 6.1, 605, form and filing. Who may file? Who shall make a determination of findings? Section 6.1, 610, decision final. A complainant or any person in receipt of a notice of violation may appeal the determination of findings or lack of findings by the Director of the Department of Public Works and may file such appeal and submit to the Guam Land Use Commission, who shall exercise its powers pursuant to Article 6 of Chapter 61, Title 21 GCA, Section 6.1, 611 appeals. 21 GCA, Chapter 61, Section 6.1, 621, decision final appeal, statutory time frame for judicial review, and Section 6.1, 622, jurisdiction. Superior Court shall have jurisdiction over all actions arising from the provisions of this title. Based on research by legal counsel and review of the NOA's issue, the variance does not have an expiration and is transferable to subsequent purchasers without additional approval. And it appears this may have been done without notice to neighbors of a public hearing, but it does not seem to have been a legal requirement at the time based upon the statement made by the TPC board reflected in the minutes of December 1982 TPC meeting. And the commissioners have a copy of the TPC meeting minutes of December 2, 1982. Following is a point-by-point initial review of the charter's complaint. It's actually a 24 item I will respond to each item on a point by point. And the commissioners have a copy of the complaint. Item number 1 was the application was made in 1982. And the complainant says that a conditional use permit was never discussed at the TPC as reflected in the minutes, as requested and solicited, and instead a zone variance application recommended for approval with conditions by the then Territorial Planning Commission, TPC, and final approval to be issued by the governor. This did not constitute final approval, but rather a recommendation of the application to the governor for his approval. This is stipulated on the document from that TPC meeting, and notification as such was to be sent to the governor. The response in the staff report is approval of the governor is only applicable to zone changes. This was a zone variance request, and it ended up as a conditional use, approval with conditions. Number 2, complainant says DOM is not in possession of either the documents or proof that those conditions were met, nor the final approval from the governor. In the absence as such, there is no zone variance approval recorded for this land. Mr. Joe Borja, Director of Land Management, has stipulated that this final approval is not in possession of the department in any of the records or archives, which is to whom the approval should have been given to and henceforth recorded. Staff report for this item number 2 is the initial business license granted in 1983 would have been the evidence of compliance of those original 4 conditions, as the business license application would have been signed off by the permitting agencies. Item number 3 in the complaint, if Guam American Sportsland did not move forward under the assumption only that the variance had been granted, they should have submitted supporting documentation indicating, as per the conditional recommendation of approval form, which should be from the TPC, a 50-foot mountain was erected, a 6-foot high fence with barbed wire on top shall border all 3 sides, that the applicant will work with the Air Force regarding the pipeline crossing, and that the applicant meets national rifle certification requirements and meets DPS safety standards. There are no supporting documentations which indicate that any of these conditions were met, inspected, or reviewed by the governor or the TPC to arrive at any final approval process in order to issue a final approval by the governor. Item number 3, the initial business license granted again would have been the evidence of those original 4 conditions as the business license application would have been signed off by the permitting agencies. Item number 4, there was no public notice or hearing or given to the surrounding neighbors, and instead the TPC relied on the self-attestation of the applicant, Guam American Sportslands Limited, that he spoke with the neighbor and they did not oppose. There is nothing in writing as evidence as such of a statement being made by the unnamed neighbor. In fact, the TPC waives any public hearing requirement based on the applicant's statement. Further, there are no documents stipulating any formal discussions were had with the Air Force to address the water line that runs through below the property, or that any safety standards were met in accordance with DPS approval. Response number 4, the minutes of the December 2, 1982 TPC meeting addresses the public notice and public hearing issue. Also of note is the procedure of the meeting as noted in the minutes. And I'll just go ahead and read the procedure here. And again, this is 1982, approximately 40 years ago. Before calling the agenda, Mr. Peterson explained the procedure of the meeting, that as the application is called up, applicant or representative shall come forward and state his name. Planning staff will read its finding and recommendation regarding the application before the commission. And again, I want to remind that this is minutes from a 1982 meeting. Continuing from there, the commission will go through the application during an open session. Following the review of applications by open session, the commission will go through the agenda once more during an executive session, at which time it will make its decision. Now, that process and that procedure, of course, in 1982 is no longer valid now. Today, there are numerous requirements for a public hearing notice like that. Applicants are advised to contact the planning division and consult with Mr. Reza Lam about the results of their respective applications. So the process of notice factor at that time in 1982 is not as open as today. And again, we're reviewing these 1982, 1983 NOAs approvals through 2022 eyes on 2022 regulations. Item number 5 in the complaint: in order to obtain a zone variance, there must be a justification of variance. Section 17502 zoning code of law. The applicant must demonstrate to the commission in a letter to be attached that A, the provision of this title would not result in practical difficulties and unnecessary hardships inconsistent with the intent of the law. B, special condition that is peculiar to the land or building in question that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone. And C, the granting of such variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the master plan and will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the properties or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located. The staff reports on this as these items are justification for address in a letter dated November 15, 1982 from Paul Lawler to the chairman of the TPC. Again, this is back in 1982. Item number 6, in the complaint, National Rifle Association guidelines have their own set of requirements for proposed outdoor firing ranges and the necessary buffer zones for misfirings and ricochet of bullets. While American Sportslands never showed any supporting documents that they followed these guidelines as required under conditional approval and presented them for final approval. Nor did they provide any letter to be attached to the application that was to be reviewed for final approval by the governor. The bottom portion of the applicants for a zone application for a zone variance is not executed or signed by the chief planner, and an additional notice is included in such that it states, note, all approvals by the commission with conditions must be completed prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. None of these items are included in the application. The staff response to item number 6 in the complaint: the document records concerning this issue that land management has are approximately 39 years old and may not be complete. Again, this is a bio of 40 years ago. Item number 7 in the complaint: Guam American Sportsland subsequently went on to obtain 2 conditional use approval for a snack stand and dune buggy trail, which also have no recorded documents on final signed approval by the governor. And again, on number 7, approval of the governor is only applicable to zone changes. And again, referring to the documents situation of land management files of 39-year-old applications, we don't have, it's not a complete file. Item number 8, according to the surrounding neighbor statements that are in the direct firing range, downrange area, while American Sportslands opened up and bullets were coming directly to their houses and landing on their front yard. These houses are less than 1,500 feet away from the property which they were shooting from. They made several calls to the public authorities and subsequently Guam American Sportslands ceased operation. Number 8, DLM has no information on this and does not give a date on when they shut down their operations. Item number 9 in the complaint: the property in which Guam American Sportslands and subsequent lease was then assigned to a new entity named Interface Inc. Interface Inc. also then reassigned the lease to 3 new shareholders in 1984. The firing range and property sat dormant with zero business activity for the next 30+ years. And again, on a response to the complaint item in number 9, staff report response. Based on research by legal counsel and review of the NOA's issues, the variance does not have an expiration and is transferable to subsequent purchasers without additional approval. Item number 10 in the complaint, fast forward 30 years and there was another reassignment of the shareholders and authorized representative to be known as John Sablan, owner and operator of JTM Ventures. The staff response on this, DOM, is we have no information on this. Item number 11 in the complaint, the shooting range and the leased property it sat on was completely dormant for over 36 years. There was zero activity on this property. It had overgrown into a jungle with an abandoned tin structures and no utilities were connected. This was a defunct business. As such, subsequent lot development took place with new home construction and subdivisions built. Improvements to the properties, all bordering the property lines, and there was not one document filed on the chain of title for the leased property to have its own variance. Therefore, how could anyone in the surrounding neighborhood who did their due diligence on the zoning and lot requirements have any knowledge whatsoever that a supposed zone variance was granted and that a firing range could open up at any time? And again, the response on that, number 11, is that based on the research by legal counsel review NOA's issue, the variance does not have an expiration and is transferable to subsequent purchasers without additional approval. Number 12, Interface Inc. then played catch-up in the complaint with the Department of Revenue and Taxation and filed their annual corporate reports for 2016, 2017, and 2018, and stated in their reports that the business activity was actually transacting for tourist-related activities. Staff respond to item number 12, this BLN has no information on this. Number 13 in the complaint, a new Interface Inc. with all new shareholders and no evidence of purchasing said shares from previous shareholders then filed their new corporate annual report under the same name, but with a new EIN tax number, which is indicative of an all newly formed corporation under the same name of Interface Inc. They then stipulate on said filing that their date of incorporation was December 28, 1984, as shown on the previous different corporate filings made by the previous Interface Inc. They then state that the statement of the character of business that is actually transacting for the corporation has been formed and exists for the purpose of engaging in all business activities authorized by Guahan law and specifically for the purpose of operating a shooting range. Staff respond, DOM staff respond on this is DOM has no information on this. Item number 14 in the complaint. This point is clearly when things change, and on September 7, 2018, John Sablan and JTM Ventures then proceeded to apply for a permit for grading purposes only to clear 14,000 square meters, construct one 8-foot high by 650 wide berm and a 150-foot high by 150-foot wide berm cap with soil. It seems that an existing shooting range would not have been required to clear the entire land and build berms that still do not meet the minimum required 50-foot mountain as stipulated in the initial conditions. Nor was there any consideration given to the following NRA guidelines for a buffer zone for stray bullets and misfire. No notice was given to surrounding property owners for such grading to occur for an outdoor live firing range. No notice was given for any public input upon the request to grade an existing shooting range, neither to the neighbors nor the municipality for public input. The mayor of Dededo stumbled upon the shooting range in her village when doing outreach for COVID-19 testing. This will further attest to the fact that JTM Veterans and Sportsland shooting range was already shooting in mid-2020. It was her first knowledge that the shooting range existed and that it was smack dab in the middle of a residential, densely populated neighborhood in her village. Not only did JTM Veterans begin to move this land before final permit was approved, but they were already firing guns before the proposed deadline for completion of the grading was fully signed. Again, that's item number 14 in the complaint. The response from DLM staff concerning item number 14 is, DLM has no records on file for this issue. These will be records maintained by the Department of Public Works. Item number 15 in the complaint, JTM Veterans has consistently advertised it made improvements to the existing building on the property, and yet there are no permits indicating they applied to do as such. They had to apply for power and water, and yet there is no document requested under the FOIA law that apparently exists for said improvement. Response by DLM staff to item 15. DLM has no records on file for this issue. These would be records maintained by the Department of Public Works. Item number 16 in the complaint, who is overseeing the actual business requirements for a live fire outdoor shooting range, with 3 question marks. Item number 16, response from the DLM staff. The initial first application for a live fire shooting range would come to the Department of Land Management Territorial Planning Division for zoning clearances. Other business requirements are the purview of the applicable permitting agencies. Item number 7 in the complaint, has Guam EPA bothered to check their lead contamination to the water table of the Northern Aquifer? Question mark. If so, where are the reported findings? Question mark. There is nothing in any FOIA documents that indicate they are even aware of such a business operating, nor are they aware of the lead contamination being discharged over the water table of the Northern Aquifer and directly onto the land. What mitigation efforts are in place, if any, and why does the EPA not have any of the documents on file? The DLM response to item number 7 is, these would be document records maintained by the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. Item number 18 in the complaint, this outdoor firing range is shooting many different guns. They open 7 days a week and shoot all day long, non-stop, from 9 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. There are no breaks. They are shooting high-powered automatic weapons, rifles, and caliber that are used in military sniper weapons. The noise pollution alone is unbearable. We hear it in our homes day and evening, 7 days a week. We cannot go into our yard without the risk of being shot. We maintain our property with the fear of being shot every time we walk out the door. It has caused great disruption to life. We cannot walk from our homes to our vehicle without the fear that a stray bullet may hit us at any time they are shooting. We hear the bullets flying through the trees in our yard daily, and on several instances, we have had them whiz past our heads. One neighbor reported that a bullet was lodged into her typhoon shutter and went to the owner, who is fully aware that it caused directly from the shooting range. We can provide direct witness accounts of this happening. We have found stray bullets on our ground in our yard. Stray bullets from ricochet and misfirings pose a huge safety risk to the public, injuring them on the public streets they live on. Our children are no longer allowed to be outside. the entire surrounding neighborhood is at risk of being shot by a bullet. I ask again, who is regulating this shooting range as a business? Even the police department is not allowed to file a report until such time that a person has been shot or there is damage to the property. They have come to our homes and gone to the business, and a business license is procured, so they say they can't do anything. Staff response on number 18 from BOM is this is a Guam Police Department issue. Item number 19 in the complaint. This is a huge public safety hazard, huge all in caps. We live 100 feet from the non-approved berm of less than 20 feet high. We have bullets whizzing past our house and down the street. We have called the police department several times, and they acknowledge that many times they have been called and can do nothing until someone or something is shot. It is in this statement alone from the police that should make someone stand up and realize that this is a severe public hazard. Again, on response on number 19 from the DOM staff, this is a Guam Police Department issue. Item number 20 in the complaint. This is a residential neighborhood, and we are currently sitting in the direct firing line of an unregulated shooting range. Anyone who has gone to the site will attest that there are houses and families less than 10 feet from the firing lanes, and they placed a 3-foot-high temporary plastic orange construction fence that can be walked right over and onto the property. There is a school less than 1 mile from this active firing range, and yet if there was to be an active shooter situation in the school or nearby, they would never know the difference. Not one public official responsible for approving of the grading-only permit has visited the site to actually see the improvements made and the surrounding areas affected. The Guam EPA has stipulated zero regulation with regard to the lead contamination that is occurring. Noise pollution needs to be regulated. The Office of the Senator on Public Safety, Peter Terlahi, actually visited the site and was appalled. They indicated as such in the report findings that submitted to the Speaker of the Legislature. Nothing was done. Again, this is item 20 in the complaint. The response from DOM staff for item 20 is the Department of Land Management has not received a copy of the report, but has received inquiries from Senator Terlahi's office and Speaker Terlahi's office. Item number 21 in the complaint. If the zone variance is being acted upon fraudulently, or if there have been misgivings about the legality of subsequent improvement made under false pretenses that there was an active shooting range the last 38 years, then someone needs to be held accountable. Again, this is item number 21 in the complaint, and the response to item number 21 from DOM. These would be records maintained by the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Item number 22. In the complaint, our neighborhood can neither sell their houses, rent their houses out, or develop the land adjacent to and in direct line of fire. The real estate has been injured, and we must disclose the obvious shooting range, as it can be heard on a daily basis right in our backyard. We have to disclose the potential for human bodily harm of being shot. Those two sentences are in bold. Item number 22 in the response from Land Management, DLM has no comment. In the original complaint, there are two item number 22, which is just a numbering error. And the second item number 22 in the complaint, the zone variance explicitly states that it cannot be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the properties or improvements in which the property is located. And again, in our response to this second number 22 repeated, DOM has no comments. Number 23 in the complaint. This is a public safety issue. As such, we are requesting that the business cease operations. If in the event someone is shot by a stray bullet that has ricocheted or a misfiring, the accountability will be on the hands of the government of Guam for allowing the business to operate in the absence of an approved recorded zone variance and in direct violation by which the zoning law stipulates. The response by land management to item number 23. The operator of the firing range has the responsibility and is accountable for ensuring that he is complying with local and federal law. That's the response in item number 23. The last item in the complaint, number 24. Again, this is from the complaint. In a letter dated February 18, 2022, requests for FOIA documents were provided by Vincent P. Arreola, Director of Department of Public Works, with a CC of said documents sent to Thomas B. Keeler, Assistant Attorney General. All of the documents for all correspondents to approve the construction of the firing range, and yet the only one document included is for a request for a permit for grading only. There is not one permit issued for the further development of the entire facility, and it would behoove you as the GLUC to pay an unannounced site visit to both the shooting range as well as the surrounding neighborhood bordering the range and in direct line of fire less than 100 feet past the 15-foot berm. The types of guns include automatic weapons that have a minimal range of half a mile. We are 100 feet away, exclamation point. Let that sink in, 4 exclamation points. The neighbors that border the property are 10 feet away. We formally filed this complaint on behalf of the entire surrounding neighborhood and in the name of Frank D. and Tonya L. Chartreuse, adjacent lot landowners. We request that the GLUC notify us directly to the date and time. This will be placed on the schedule for public attendance in accordance with the open government law. And item number 24 response from DOM. Enforcement of the zoning code is under the jurisdiction of the building official of the Department of Public Works, section 61601. So final statement in the staff report from land management. Executive Secretary and legal counsel both agree that the only option available to complainant Chartreuse may be the jurisdiction of the Superior Court as previously cited. So I'm sure that ends the report given. And again, this is not an application. What it is a complaint letter was sent to the commission, and the commission staff were directed to provide a response on an item by item basis for the response back to Mr. Chartreuse, Mr. and Mrs. Chartreuse. Again, the staff report ends with the statement that the jurisdiction over actions arising from the provisions of this title is under the Superior Court. Section 61622 of 21 Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 61, states that jurisdiction, period. Superior Court shall have jurisdiction over all actions arising from the provisions of this title. And as Commissioner Chairman Chan noted, legal counsel is also present in this meeting. That ends my report.
Thank you, Secretary Arreola. Thank you for the presentation. I will now turn this floor over to the commissioners. Any questions or comments for Mr. Borja or legal counsel?
So the only recourse that Mr. Chafris has is go to the courts, and the court will decide who would be the defendant. The plaintiff would be Mr. Chafris, and the defendant would be the business owners.
The defendants, and I'll let Nick answer that, but you can say in your statement that they're requesting that the business cease. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of up to the plaintiffs. They could name who they want. They could name the
Okay.
government as well. So it's really up to their attorney as to what they're going to do with it.
I understand. No further questions for me.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Frank Charfers. My wife is not present because she's
Oh,
feeling
sorry,
ill.
Excuse me, Mr. Chafris. I'm still asking the commissioners
Oh.
if they have further comments or questions. I will then turn this over to the public in just a little bit. Commissioners, do you have any other? Then if not, then we'll turn this over to the public for public comments. Go ahead, Mr. Chafris.
Thank you for giving me the floor. So my wife isn't present because she's ill. Obviously, this is something that's been bothering us for a couple of years now. We live on a public road. We have real estate that borders this property. My mom's house is in front of us. When I wash dishes, I can see the top of the berm. It's that low. Our whole area behind us is elevated. But that's really not the point. The point is, this is like 38 years ago that it was once in operation. Here we are. We just celebrated Liberation 2022. And I can't believe in this day and age, I am pleading with you guys to see this, to see what I'm presenting here. Have anybody of you made the visit to the site? How many of the board members have made a visit? Just one? Well, I just, I don't know how I can get this into your head that they are shooting automatic weapons. It's not an enclosed firing range. It's open air, outdoor. You cannot project a bullet going that fast, hitting a metal plate and predict the outcome of where it will lay. So our property behind us, we get ricochet coming through there. We get ricochet down the street. And, this is like, I'm sorry, if this was in Agana next to the government, a government office or a school, the 38 years would have been told to JTM bench rest. Like, this was 38 years ago. There's no way you're going to open this up right now. The times has changed. There are people that live around here. There are families that live around here. One of the subsections within the zone variance application is you cannot injure the real estate or subsequent properties adjacent to the lot. And mind you, they don't have the buffer. The buffer is my property. The buffer is the people that border that property. They don't own the buffer. It's appalling that I have to spend money to take this to court because of something that was, someone got a permit to grade land. And I cannot find anything in the Guam law annotated that says the zone variance, which what you guys call, which is what you guys approve, but the initial application was a conditional use variance, conditional use. It wasn't a zone variance. He applied as a condition. You guys gave him a zone variance. So there's nothing in the Guam law that says it is transferable. And believe me, if there was a school behind this place, I wouldn't be in this spot. I wouldn't be talking about this. So from what I understand is, 38 years ago, this happened. Some of the records are not visible or obtainable, that I have to take this to court, Superior Court. Is that the final verdict here?
I'll have the executives.
That was the last statement in the report.
Okay, I mean, obviously, this is bothering me. It's absurd that I moved to Guam and I got to fight this. this is obscene. In this day and age, I'm fighting a gun range in my backyard where I hear stray bullets. I feel like I have a target on my back. My kids aren't allowed to play on a public street because of a stray bullet. And trust me, they cannot get insurance to insure them for that. I've called every insurance company on Guam about that. And I don't care if they could. It is not in the right place. It's in a place where there's some people that are not afforded a lot, right? So they're not going to complain. It's less than a half mile from a school. I went to the principal. I stopped over there. I can hear the firing range. I said, how are you going to know if there's an active shooter in the area? She says, we'll never know. I said, I agree. It's too close. And nowadays, active shooters are very rampant. And it's like, I can't even tell if one is in my area because of the activity going on there. It is a war zone out there. And I'm not exaggerating. Come and visit. Don't even tell them you're coming because they're not even shooting right now because this meeting's going on. But it is absurd that I'm in this day and age, I'm fighting this. I work from the house. I stress out about this thing. It is causing me to stress out about it, that I have to leave my house to go focus on what I do. But please, if you guys have this the zone variance is transferable, please share that in the Guam law to me, because I have not found that. And from what I understand as well, on the zone application, if you change the scope of that property on your initial plans, if you change the scope, it's a new application. So they graded that whole place again, or whatever they did in 2018. They changed the complexion because that place was overgrown, abandoned, no utilities. And I know it because I live right behind there. I've called the EPA and say, hey, these people are dumping back here. This is the aquifer. You guys care about the water source. I'm sure the military does with the amount of, with Camp Laws right across the street. But, no one replied to me on that. And then fast forward 2 years later, they grade and build a gun range without any public notification, warning. This is absurd. I excuse myself for being kind of upset about this, but this is not right. Nothing about this is right. And if you haven't made a visit up there, please come to my side of the road. And don't tell anybody you're coming up, but call me and I'll give you a tour. But this is definitely not right, and it's unsafe at a minimum. It's injuring the real estate around there. I can't sell my house because who wants to live next to a gun range? And that is in black and white on your law. You got to protect the public. You got to protect the property. I have zero going on with this. And so now I've got to go to court. I got to file an injunction. Is that what the bottom line is on this?
That's what the staff report says, Mr. Jarvis.
Okay. All right. But everybody has my email. Even DPW has my email. And I'm surprised he's not on this call. But if you can share with me the Guam law that says a zone variance transfers with the property, I would appreciate that, because I have not found that. And remember, back in '82, they applied for a conditional use. They didn't apply for a zone variance. And I have the documents on that. I've got all the documents on this case on how Guam American Sportsland was a company. Now it's, they took over the corporate name to make it look like they're the same people, but the current people were probably minors at that time. So it's almost like a big fraud going on here. It's awful, man. It's very awful. And I'm upset about this. And I don't, I'm not against guns. I have no objection to guns, but a gun range next to people, that's not the right place for it. And you guys, the first agenda on this call was about a church reapplying, submitting a 5-year plan because they got a conditional use. So they've got to submit a 5-year plan again. And, my God, you're giving the church a hard time about being a church. And here I am fighting for my life here to shut this place down. That's all I have to say. But, you've taken away the the safety of not knowing that there's an active shooter in the area. There's a school not far away that can hear this, that can't tell if an active shooter is away. They allow automatic weapons. They allow a caliber that can go a half mile away, used for like snipers. You know, it's not good. It is not a good scenario. Come and visit, and you tell me if this is kosher. You tell me if this is okay. Come and visit. Don't tell anybody. Come up on a weekend, Sunday morning, right after church, right after you eat breakfast, when the firing is really hot. And it's kind of funny they're not shooting today because of this meeting going on right now. But I guarantee you, at 3 o'clock, that thing's gonna be on because we'll probably be done. But I'll look for an attorney and I'll wait for the Guam law. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry I'm hot about this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for his comments. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Mr. Sablan, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Well, you know, I'm sitting here listening to everything that Mr. Charfus has said, and you know, unfortunately, I knew from the get-go that any shooting range anywhere, the number one complaint is going to be noise. That is just a fact of opening a shooting range or having a shooting range. Is noise is a byproduct of the shooting range, just as is you know, stinky smell from a slaughterhouse, you know, in the property. So, you know, I understand where he's coming from, but unfortunately, we like he mentioned, and the commission knows that this approval, whatever terms he's using or you guys use, has been granted in 1982 by the commission, by the government of Guam, and 10 years later, Mr. Charfus comes in and purchases property and builds his house. I believe it's around 1992. So he, you know, if you do your due diligence, it would have a title search or property, what is it? The title search, security search would have revealed that. We approached many or a few lawyers. We approached the real estate professionals before we even took on this project. I invested a lot of money into this project only because the government of Guam said everything is good to go. Lawyers have said that this approval has no expiration date, and that's why we decided to pursue it. Now, I want to rebut or talk on some of the stuff that Mr. Charfus has mentioned. First off, on item number 3, unfortunately, some of the items in the beginning I can't speak on because I was not part of this process in 1982. But of the conditional use or the conditions set forth by the TPC, there's nowhere that includes a 50-foot high mountain, like he says. It's nowhere in the conditions. There is a condition of a 6-foot fence, a condition of dealing with the pipeline with the Air Force, and obviously that has already been done because there's roads that lead all the way into this property. So the government of Guam was already taking care of that a long time ago, long before my time. Numbers, you know, the fact or the issue of bullets, those are simply allegations. Back before my time, a few of the neighbors in the distant or in the nearby housing area to the left of the range were making the same allegations to the Guam Police Department and other agencies. And we actually have historical documents showing an individual holding a bullet in the palm of his hand. And if you know guns or if you know anything about the firearms industry or shooting, this particular picture shows a pristine bullet that was never loaded into a working cartridge. It doesn't have any rifling marks on it. So GPD or the Department of Public Safety at that time ruled it as an unfounded or negative findings. They kind of like swept it, threw it away because the allegations were false. The evidence that they provided showed no use, no firing use out of a firearm, no markings on the bullet, and no damage to the projectile whatsoever. Also, we reported so many times, we have records where we documented that there are shootings going on outside of the shooting range from time to time. When it happens, we call Guam Police Department's Northern Precinct. We report that there is a shooting on the left side of the property, on the right side of the property, all because now that we opened up the shooting range, anytime somebody gets something in their yard or a projectile or the noise, they're going to automatically assume it's the shooting range. Mr. Charfers is right. We do shoot a lot here. Unfortunately, today it's not so busy. We didn't put anything on hold because of this meeting. I'm inside the building, so you're not going to hear shooting. There might be some small caliber shooting outside. Everything we do on this range is 100% legal. We can shoot up to 50 caliber BMG. That's like the stuff they use on ships and stuff. It's not an anti-aircraft gun or whatever, but it is 100% allowed by law. We just choose not to do it because it is louder than most. So we're trying to be a good neighbor at the same time. The bullets coming onto private property, GPD has made their way out and have conducted several investigations, and all have come back negative. It didn't come from our range. Ballistically, that's what the investigator was telling me. So, I'm concerned every time these allegations are made. I obviously don't want any bullets leaving my range. We built our shooting range based on NRA guidelines, and mind you, those are guidelines. There's no recommendation. There's no law that tells me how to build my shooting range. NRA is a subject matter expert, but all they do is give guidance on how they think this is the best way to build a range. And there are many different ways to build a shooting range. The comment that Mr. Charfus made about firing going on 10 feet from the house on the left is totally bogus. Our firing line is well more than 30, 40 yards away from the property line. And as far as I know, I can build my shooting range all the way up to the property line. But there are buffers, there are safeties. We have a 10-foot berm on the sides and a 15-foot berm on the back. For every bullet impact area. And these are not just piles of dirt. They're constructed in a way that a 50 caliber bullet will not penetrate. So when I heard that Mr. Charfus is saying that there's bullets whizzing by his backyard, I of course was concerned. I went to the back while shooting was going on. So I'm in the direct line of fire at this point in time. And the noise is projected like I would describe as a ventriloquist, where the sound of gunfire is echoed through the trees, but it doesn't mean that the bullets are whizzing through the property. As a matter of fact, if at the line of fire somebody discharges a firearm and over the berm, it's not going to hit any of the trees in Mr. Charfus's yard. The angle of fire is just not. It's not going to make it happen. So we took over the company in 2018. We went up to the revenue tax and we got the business license renewed. Everything we did was allowed by the government of Guam. We didn't bypass. We didn't ask for favors. We went through the what we thought was the correct process. And as far as I am concerned, as far as I know, this is not my first business, but when government of Guam issues a business license, that is the final document that says a business is authorized to operate. And if anybody has an objection, you can make that known now. So the grading permit that Mr. Charfus is mentioning, we submitted plans to the Department of Public Works through our contractor, of course. And we have the blueprints that are stamped by the government, and therefore the grading and the construction of those berms took place. Like I said, everything was approved by the government. We did talk prior to any of these things going on, any construction going on. We had to go to EPA, and I spoke to I believe the director at that time, I don't know if he still is a director, Mr. Leon Guerrero. I don't know if it's Robert Leon Guerrero, but he had my application for a while, for I believe 2 weeks before I sat down with him to ask him what's up with my application on opening my shooting range. Well, it turns out that he was doing his research and found out that everything that I'm doing is legitimate, and granted me full approval of opening my shooting range. We built a ponding basin in accordance to EPA's laws, water wells or water laws. So, you know, the allegations that Mr. Chafris is saying that everything is a fraud or illegitimate is just totally false. I spent over $1 million investment of my money into this shooting range. I'm not a wealthy businessman. I don't have multiple businesses. This is everything that we've got. And we're not going to sidestep any government requirements to try and open this range. We did this over a course of probably a little bit over a year. Everybody that we talked to and every consultant that we sought out agreed that this is a legitimate shooting range. The property has no expiration. As a matter of fact, we sat down with Mr. Joe Borja from the Department of Land Management, myself and Mr. Mark Sablon, who's on this forum, and he mentioned to us while he was reviewing his computer, or I believe an email from the legal counsel of DLM that says this variance has no expiration. So, you know, there's several times over the course of a year or two that I got reassurance from multiple government agencies, professionals, and attorneys that everything that I want to do is 100% legitimate. Mr. Charfris also says that we're open 7 days a week. We're not open 7 days a week. We're open Tuesday through Sunday, 9 to 6, not 6:30. You guys can come by anytime you want. We'll give you a tour. I'll show you exactly our operations. We have nothing to hide. We're open to the public. It's a family-run business. I'm a veteran. I'm a firefighter. It's a woman-owned business, and you know, it's 100% family. I run this operation with 9 of my family members. So, you know, we got nothing to hide. Also, I forget to mention that we also approached the Dededo Municipal Planning Council, Dededo Savares, and I want to say 9 other members were present at that time, back in August 2020, I believe. And we had a unanimous approval. Everybody supports the shooting range from the Dededo Municipal Planning Council. We just recently had another meeting with them because of Mr. Charfris's complaints, and still that approval is the same. Everything we're doing is, like I said, we have licenses, we have business licenses, I have a federal firearms license. We have the GPD certification that is required for any firearms business to operate. So there's the DPS approval or the police department approval. I don't know what else to tell you. We have improved this property from the very beginning. We got photos. I've got photos of my girls when they were at a younger age, scraping vinyl tile off the building that we're in right now to help renovate. So if Mr. Charfris is saying that we're not improving the property, I don't know what he saw before this, but I know that there was a big jungle. It was overgrown. The buildings were kind of unkept and dilapidating, and now we cleaned everything up. We have legitimate power. We have legitimate water by evidence of our monthly power and water bills. So, you know, if this was illegal hookups or whatnot, we wouldn't have this.
I want to chime in.
Go ahead.
Nowhere on a preliminary title report shows that a variance has been issued and is recorded on title. And I know that because I have a copy of it. So nowhere, if someone wanted to find out about the surrounding properties, will they know that a gun range variance has been issued?
Can I say something on that?
Go ahead.
You can-
So
Sorry about
before,
that.
I don't know where you got that, but, or
I
maybe
security
your due
title.
diligence wasn't deep enough, because the Abundant Life Church, which is just right next to the shooting range, they, before I got this property, they approached the property owner because they knew that this property existed and they knew it was a shooting range. They did their due diligence and they made an offer to purchase it. So if they found out about it, why didn't you find out about it?
I have the title work. You can search it, but it's not recorded. That's
Excuse me,
all
Mr.
I'm telling you.
Excuse me, the chairperson, Mr. Sablan's still speaking, and I haven't notified you to go ahead and speak. And
I just
Go ahead.
wanted to correct him on that public record thing, because nothing in the public eye
okay,
is
I understand
visible.
that. I understand what you're saying, but please wait for Mr. Sablan to finish before you can speak again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I continue, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, so also Mr. Charfris made a comment about us firing illegal weapons on the shooting range. And I'm here to say for the record that we use 100% legal firearms. Nothing is illegal on this property. The full auto firing is true, but it was all done by GPD. They did have a GPD week just recently, and they invited a bunch of the business community out and gave them an opportunity to fire some of their SWAT weapons, which are fully automatic. So if, that's probably what Mr. Chafris was hearing. We've trained, we have trained so many people, and I'm talking hundreds of people through this shooting range, with NRA certified instructors, numerous NRA certified instructors. This range is the only outdoor shooting range available to the entire island right now. It is the only one. So, we provide a safe venue for people to shoot as safely as we can. We do everything we can to keep bullets in here. And as far as my knowledge, nothing has exited the range. So without our range, people will continue to fire outside. Before my range, there were people firing in Channel 10 area and all directions. They're thinking they're safe because they're away from the public's eye. But in reality, it's pretty much open range out in the public land. With my range, we concentrate everything against a back berm that's built to stop 50 caliber bullets. We provide a venue for people to train. We've trained senators, we've trained judges, lawyers, many business professionals. I don't know what else to say. This is a legitimate business. The government has been up here. The governor's staff has been up here. The Dededo mayor has been here. Reverend Tax has been here. So yeah, I hope you guys support the range too. If without this range, there's going to be firing in outside of the, uncontrolled firing outside in the general public.
Thank you, Mr. Sablan. Any other comments? Do we have any other comments from the public?
Yes, sir. I'd like to speak.
Go ahead. Please state your name.
Can you hear me okay, though?
Yeah.
My name is Ron Taitano. I'm from the village of Jigo. I'm speaking. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner and commission members. I'm speaking as a law-abiding licensed gun owner. And as Mr. Sablan had just spoke, there's only one range now on Guam. There was the PD range, which I don't know all the particulars with how and why it goes down. What I'm concerned about is that for all
Mr.
the knowledge
Taitano,
I have, that
Mr. Taitano,
the
excuse me.
range that Mr. Sablan owns has been legally opened
I think Mr. Python's signals dropped. We were having problems with understanding. It was cutting out.
Yes, Secretary. Can I request Mr. Tyron to again get back into, if you want to say some more. But I think we've lost Mr. Tyron. And yeah. Can I request for a short recess so that Mr. Tyron can get back to the internet and give his comment? Maybe a 5-minute recess, but it's now 2:06. I mean, it's 3 o'clock. And we'll give you 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Commissioner. I'm sorry for being disconnected there. Can you hear me?
Recording?
Okay,
Okay.
let's go ahead and proceed then. Thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Tyron. Oh, you're muted. Mr. Tyron, you're muted. Can you turn on your mic?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Thank you. As I was saying, I'm a resident of GLUC. I'm a law-abiding gun citizen. I have gun licenses, and for reasons unknown, PD was closed, and the only legal gun range that I'm aware of is the Sportsland range in NCS. Now, listening to what you identified as far as Mr. Charfus's complaint is very broad, long, and rather confusing because I'm trying to understand who's the complaint against. Is it against the government, the multiple agencies, or against Sportsland? And the many things that he talks about. I'm rather knowledgeable on Guam law and federal law. And a lot of these things of what he alleges is actually hearsay and are brought up way before he, in his own words, said he returned to Guam and built his house. So I'm not sure where he got that information from, just as your agency no longer possesses records, which under the Records Management Act may not even need to be held anymore. So again, I'm a little confused as to what he's actually complaining about, other than the noise. He has several conflicts with respect to his description of distances, heights of berms, and his claim to requirements under NRA. As Mr. Sablan had mentioned, those are merely guidelines, and nowhere would you find NRA in Guam law other than the licensing law concerning firearms instructors. That's the only place you'll find it. Next, a lot of things of what he alleges are so old, I'm trying to figure out who would be held liable for that. That would fall under ex post facto. A lot of the other stuff that your legal advisor had presented in their response to Mr. Trumfus, I find to be on point. Next, GPD has no responsibility of rulemaking or enforcement at a gun range unless it is of criminal nature. Shooting at a gun range is exempted from the unlawful discharge. So as Mr. Sablan said, whether it be the police or anybody else shooting a gun at a gun range, under Guam law, that's lawful. So for all intent purposes, your agency, along with the Department of Revenue and Taxation, specifically the director, who is the rulemaking authority for shooting ranges on Guam, but nothing for outdoor, only for indoor shooting ranges, is the one that would be responsible. But that's nowhere mentioned. But again, outdoor shooting ranges would only be controlled by your agency in Public Works. And as I believe Mr. Sablan said, he's attained all required permits. And I can assure you, as a citizen of Guam for I don't know how many years now, I'd have to sit down and write that, I would not take my child to any range that is unlawful and shoot a gun and engage in criminal activity. I can respect Mr. Trofus's complaints of noise because guns are loud. But as far as I know, we do not have a noise pollution law in Guam. So I'm not sure what allegations of criminality he has against all of us gun shooters that go there. And for his description of guns that shoot a mile, I'm not sure what ballistic experience he has, but as a private business owner of selling ammunition, I'm rather knowledgeable on ballistics. And the ballistics energy of a 22, the smallest caliber that you can find, is capable of traveling a mile. So he didn't mention a 22, which, by the way, me and my son compete in at the range, which is very family oriented, so much that we have an 11-year-old boy that competes. So that is very family fun oriented and safe, because let me offer another point of concern. The range there is very safe because there's so many range officers that'll be quick to point out about how you handle your gun, where you point your gun, where you shoot it, when you don't shoot it, how you keep it. There's a chamber flag requirement. I've been yelled at by people way younger than me, and I get embarrassed. But nonetheless, it's for the safety of everybody. Now, specifically, when Mr. Charfus talks about how dangerous it is, one question that has not been asked and one question that has not been answered, because there's no fact of it. If he claims that he and his neighbors can't run around because it's so dangerous, how many complaints to the GPD have been made about damaged property? I walk back and forth between the 100-yard range, the 50-yard range, the 25-yard range. I don't know of anybody's car being damaged. I've never seen anybody run other than from the bees that would get into the mud there. So I'm not sure what dangerous he's talking about. And again, I know he's not a ballistics expert. So whatever thing that he's found or that he claims somebody else has found, who other than his word, and again, hearsay, is not actual witness testimony or proven ballistics analysis of where that cartridge or that bullet came from. So again, a lot of this is hearsay because he's gone from information that was prior to him, I guess what he said, coming back to Guam and building a home. And Mr. Sablan said something about the 90s. I don't know who this gentleman is at all, but you know, my concern is the range dangerous? Not from what I've seen. Is it lawful? Yes, that's why I go there. And if we're going to talk about lawfulness, let's ask the question. You shut down this range, I can promise you're going to have a lot of unlawful shooters. What are you going to do about them? So has Mr. Sablan and his family done everything that they're legally required to do? I believe so. Your legal advisor had found that. He talks about DPW. This is not the grounds for DPW complaint. He talks about EPA. This is not an EPA hearing. Your legal advisor has advised him to go take it to court, and that's his next course of remedy. But for me, I will finish my presentation by thanking you all for allowing me to speak, and thank you for the job that you've done. I would agree that you have not done anything illegal by allowing Mr. Sablan to continue with the zone variance extension, which you said by law allows it to continue. So again, I don't think there's any question of any illegalities here or improprieties on your agency or Mr. Sablan and his family. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taitano. Are there any other comments coming from the public? If there are no other comments, I will now close this public comment period. And I'd like to ask Mr. Borja to give additional administrative matters for the commission today.
We don't really have any administrative matters other than we are slowly heading toward face-to-face meetings. We did receive our recording device that we have been waiting for so long, and we'll be testing that, and possibly sometime in the near future we will have face-to-face meetings, depending, of course, on the COVID situation, and depending if we can get our recording system out here. Other than that, no other announcements, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Borja. Would like to go to the next item in our agenda, and that's the adjournment. But before we adjourn today's meeting, I'd like to call the attention of Commissioner Atero. I understand that this will be your last meeting. You're going to be your last meeting with the commission. And on behalf of the chairperson, Anita Enriquez, and members of the GLUC, I would like to thank you for your invaluable service to the commission and the community, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's been a great experience. It's quite a bit of research and work that goes into this, and to be able to do it, a board member to be able to do their fiduciary duties, they need to take the time to read documents, in which I've done, and because I'm opening 2 new businesses, I need to focus on those projects so I can devote my full attention to those. I thank everyone for welcoming me, and the expertise of the staff, most notably Chief Planner Celine, who has been very helpful in helping me understand the roles and the regs, and then also the fellow directors for also welcoming me on this board, and for you, Director Borja, for doing the same. And I wish you guys all the best going forward.
Yeah, well, really, we will miss you. Thank you. Well, I now am ready to entertain a motion for adjournment of this meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I make the motion that we adjourn this meeting.
The motion was given by Commissioner Nita Blas. Do I hear a second?
Alex, to second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Leilani Flores. I'd like to call a vote on that. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
And there are no nays. Therefore, the motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much. It's now 3:11.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we